All right, we just saw Alien Covenant. I like to call it Alien Covenant because Covenant sounds like oven, man. We've been trying to see this for about a week now. We finally saw it, and what do you think?
I thought it was kind of a mess.
I wouldn't say you're wrong.
Yeah.
But I think it's the best attempt. I'll put it that way. The best attempt since, since Aliens. I mean, nothing comes close to the first two. Never.
Exactly, yes.
But I think of all the sequels, I think it's better than Alien 3, better than Resurrection. I think it's better than both the Alien vs. Predators for sure. The only one that's debatable is Prometheus. I'm not really sure if I like this more than Prometheus. Because Prometheus, it's almost like you could almost take the alien element out of it. I mean, the xenomorph alien, and it could be its own movie. This one, it is an alien movie. There's no doubt about that.
Definitely. The opening font and all that is, looks like an alien movie.
Yeah, it has a lot of the same music cues.
Has a lot of xenomorphs in it.
Yeah, and the look of it seems like they always get that right. You can, I mean, whatever you say about this movie, I think the production design was great.
It looked really nice.
Yeah.
That is the most positive thing that I can say. It was very nice looking for the most part. One thing that I wish they would have done as far as the style of it is when they got to the engineer's place was, I thought it should look a little bit more like the H.R. Geiger artwork, but it looked very much like a Roman not Colosseum, but like a sort of like ancient Roman. It didn't look like the H.R. Geiger stuff.
It wasn't inventive enough.
Yeah, it didn't look like that, and that was a little disappointing. But overall, I thought it looked pretty good. I mean, the aliens looked good. They were all CG. Apparently, they were gonna do some like practical effects, but that got scrapped. Like it always does now. They always say, "Oh, we're gonna do CG," and then they actually don't.
Yeah. Actually, you know what they were talking about doing? I've heard. I don't know if it was rumors or what, but I heard that they were going to do a follow-up to Aliens, and they were going to have Sigourney Weaver, and that it was actually going to ignore Alien 3 and everything that happened after.
That's what this was supposed to be?
No. Well, they were going to do something like that. They did this instead.
Oh, okay.
So I would have probably rather seen that.
Me too.
Yeah, I'd love to see Sigourney Weaver come back, even though her character has been killed so many times, and like they cloned her, and
at the same time, I felt like they were sort of trying to do that a little bit with this because the character in this movie seemed like she was supposed to be like Ripley, and
even the Dr. Shaw in Prometheus, she was kind of like I almost wondered at some point if she was supposed to be one of Ripley's ancestors, or
I don't know. It was just very weird. They had this whole evil Frankenstein android plot, and then this movie that was trying to be kind of like Aliens, but it was also trying to be a little bit like Prometheus, and it was kind of like, I feel like the movie didn't know exactly what it wanted to be. I agree with you that it was better than a lot of the other Alien movies. So if we are going to say that this was the third best Alien movie, it's still kind of like Aliens, and like kind of like all the other ones are like down here.
It's a Terminator situation. The first two are so amazing.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like a lot of people might go into this movie and liking it, and like it wasn't. I didn't think it was terrible or anything, but it's like nothing even close to the first two. So how I feel like we're just lowering the bar. If I say, this movie is pretty good, it's like
because I think it's pretty good.
That lowers the bar so much.
Yeah, like I think it's pretty good, but like you said, it's just, I don't mean, if I say it's pretty good, I don't mean it's anywhere close to the first two.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess like nobody expect at this point to go into the theater and see a movie as good as the originals. Like, we can't have that anymore. Like, what's wrong with 2017?
Well, I mean, it's just high expectations. Like, it's a really impossible thing to follow at this point. So first thing that I found kind of odd, in the beginning of the movie, there's some kind of disaster on the ship where a lot of the people who are in the hibernation pods are dead, and after this tragedy, then it's like it starts getting really emotional, and they're like
that happens because there's an accident in space. They had these wind sails on the ship that they stole directly out of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and
there's going to be a lot of Star Trek talk in this coming up.
Is there?
Well,
Okay.
keep going.
That was all I was going to mention, but I'm interested to hear what you have to say. But yeah, and then there's the big accident, and yeah, and that's when things start to go sour for the crew in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the shit hit the fan too early. I mean, does
It
that
was
sound
right
like
off the bat, pretty much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, does that sound like a fair complaint?
Yeah.
And because okay, so it gets really emotional. There's crying, and they're drinking whiskey, and they're making like a speech and everything, and like this is how you end.
You mean for how the original captain dies in the beginning of the movie?
Yeah. Like,
Okay.
This isn't how you start a movie like this. This is how you end Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. Like, you know, doesn't it feel that way?
Yeah.
I feel like it just got too sobby, too quick. And when you think about the old Alien movies, the first two particularly, you know how like when they wake up out of the hibernation pods, and then they're like, it's really loose. Like they kind of just they joke around. You know, Bishop's doing the thing with the knife,
and it takes a while for
like,
bad things to start happening.
Yeah, and like they didn't really have that. There wasn't really any time to let the characters sink in or anything.
Speaking of things,
go
ahead.
There was. I've heard there was some video that was released only on YouTube that sort of set up the characters, and I could not find that. I didn't know what to look up exactly.
Okay.
But I was like typing in Alien Covenant, and I couldn't find it. So, but the thing is, when you have to look for a video, to help you out with a movie, like, you know, and I don't know how much it would have helped, but I feel like
you shouldn't have to have a guide to get through the movie. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I don't think it's like a guide. I think it was just sort of like to introduce you more to the characters.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know. I didn't see it.
Another thing you were saying, they took a little more time in the original. They were playing the game and all that, and it takes a while for the shit to hit the fan. Another thing that I noticed in this movie was there was a part where one of the guys gets attacked by the face hugger, and I think correct me if I'm wrong because you're more familiar with the Alien movies than me. In the older movies, I think the face huggers, when they would do that and they would basically implant an alien, and then the alien bursts out of the stomach and all that. That used to take longer. In this movie, it seemed like the alien was on the face, and then the next scene, you see the guy. It was like the alien's bursting out of the chest. Where in the old movies, it seemed like, didn't it take like a day or something? Didn't it take time? That's what I remember.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much time passes.
That's just, and if that's true, it's just a trivial thing. But it's kind of like
they do grow fast though. Like the first movie, it's pretty much like it turns into like a full size, you know, pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So that wasn't really didn't strike me as being too off.
With what they had done before? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
I thought they did it a little faster, but so you're mentioning that it was kind of like Star Trek. One thing that I do have to say is, so this movie heavily is about these android characters.
Yes.
And I think it's Michael Fassbender plays the character, and he's good in it, and he plays a good android. Like I liked his acting.
The androids happen to be my favorite part of the movie when the two androids are conversing, because it reminded me a lot of Data and Lore in Descent.
Okay.
And maybe some other episodes of Star Trek Next Generation.
That's funny. I had actually been thinking of Star Trek Nemesis with B4 and Data, but actually your example is actually more accurate because there's the evil one and the good one. So
yeah. The dialogue between the androids, I can always accept that the dialogue is kind of stiff, where like they're androids.
It's supposed to be.
Yeah, and like I really just accept it. I like really get into it. Like I just believe I'm listening to two androids talking. Whereas with the people, sometimes when the dialogue is stiff, then it shows. Then there's like, okay, well this is fake, you know?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. It's weird that the artificial is being seen more realistic sometimes.
I guess that's speaking of the acting, but as far as the characters, I don't want to give anything away specifically, But with the main female lead in the movie, I felt like she was very much, they were trying to pull her off as being sort of like a Ripley type of character. And there's a lot of things happening with machines. Remember at the end of Alien, and at the end of Aliens, it's basically like the alien versus her and the machine and all that. There's similar things that happen in this movie, and I felt like as I was watching that, I was like, wow, they're doing this again. Like it just seemed very like very predictable and very following a formula, and it wasn't giving a lot new. And also, when you watched the Aliens, you were so into it. You're like gripped the screen with how like what's happening. Like every single second, you're hanging off of every second.
Yeah, especially the end.
I didn't have any emotion in this whatsoever as things were happening towards the end of the movie. I was like, oh well, this is very familiar. I don't care. And then I'm trying not to give things away, but basically what happens, I was very not moved by it because it was very extremely predictable. I felt that this movie was very predictable. In the villain was predictable, the plot was predictable, and it was also a very basic movie. Now we were just talking about
the plot. It's basically the same plot from Alien and Prometheus, kind of like where they arrive at a planet. And then somebody gets some kind of parasite, and then shit happens. It's the same exact thing. They get to the planet, and I thought it was kind of odd how they just stepped out of there without, like, I mean, they knew there was oxygen, but still, like, they didn't even decide to, like, not take a chance and wear helmets. Like, they just kind of just walked out there, and then they split up.
Well,
and then
I will say, I would have assumed that they had some kind of technology on the ship that tells them, okay, the atmosphere is breathable, you can go out there without your helmets. That I accepted. But speaking of the ship,
well, even in Prometheus, they had didn't they have the helmets? And then they were like wait, and then they like took it off, and it was like, wait, we can breathe. Like there was no moment like that.
They didn't have that. Yeah. So, and speaking of the technology and the helmet and the ships and all that, all the ships seems like a cargo ship or a freighter or something like that, and it takes them a long time to get from point A to point B. This isn't Star Wars. This isn't Star Trek.
Yeah.
They're not doing warp speed or any of that kind of stuff.
They have to go to sleep.
Right. This is very more primitive space technology compared to those kind of movies.
Could you imagine if life comes to that, where we can just go wherever we want as long as we just sleep for a long time?
But going from, we've all seen like the Star Trek movies, and then we've all seen the Star Wars movies, and going from those kind of movies back to this kind of technology can be a little bit, it's just, I find it very slow paced. Very slow paced, because I feel like if this was Star Wars or if this was Star Trek, we would have been like, this whole thing, the plot would have advanced much quicker. So I find myself getting very kind of bored by it. Now I know that the Alien movies are not about that. Like the first Alien movie, it's a horror movie. There's an alien. He's on a ship. It's in space, and they're trapped and they're confined, and that's sort of the era that it takes place in. They're not at the point where they have warp speed and all that yet. And I get that it's not about that, but with this movie, they're just with the androids in it. It just seemed more like a science fiction movie than a horror movie, which is why I love the original movie. And I just find myself getting kind of like bored with it because it's not as like advanced as Star Wars.
The first one really is horror. It's really more horror than sci-fi. It's just set in space, but it's a monster movie.
Right. And then I guess this is like a combination of action and sci-fi.
Oh yeah, the action is great toward the end when they're fighting the alien.
See, I felt differently. I was very bored by it because I didn't.
Well, what you said is true. There wasn't really like much substance to it. You weren't like actually hanging on to the edge of your seat about it.
Right, like when you're with Sigourney Weaver, you're just like, oh my god, this is crazy. And this movie, I was like,
it was just fun.
Yeah, it was okay, but
I do have to say the movie was better than the trailer that I saw, because I saw the trailer that had that shower scene in it. And with the shower scene. I mean, I know it's not a spoiler because it's in the trailer, but I'm like, okay, so there's these people who are going to get killed by the alien in the shower. It's like, okay, this is really cliche here. And, well, there's no interesting spin on that either. It's just
No.
it's Friday the 13th in an alien film. That's all it is.
If there was anything that told me that the movie's not that good, it was that shower scene.
Yeah,
because
but it was just one scene. I didn't notice that. I mean, okay, there are lots of cliches in it, but it's not a full-on cliche movie. I think the rest of it surpassed that trailer that I saw.
There's two characters that have a couple lines in the entire movie, and then they randomly throw in this scene near the end of the movie where they're taking a shower and then the alien kills them, and you're like, I'm supposed to care about who are these characters again? Because
how about that?
They weren't major characters.
How about that James Franco cameo?
Oh yeah, he's like hanging off the building for 2 seconds. Yeah,
and then he's dead. It's like, oh wow. And actually, Danny McBride blended in pretty well with it all, because I was like, "Oh, is he going to be the funny guy?" But no, he was straight. He played it straight, and but you got him. You
Tennessee.
Got what? Oh yeah, Tennessee.
Yeah,
and then you got
you know what else
James
he's working
Franco
on?
And
did you hear about him? He's doing the next Halloween reboot.
Halloween reboot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you hear about that? They're big surprise, it's coming back again.
You know what they need to reboot is Transformers, because I'm sick.
Oh my God.
I'm sick of that shit.
I could not agree more with that sentiment.
Yeah.
I understand those movies make a lot of money, the Michael Bay movies, and I know a lot of people don't like them. I don't like them. A lot of people do like them. That's fine. If you like them, that's great.
Oh yeah.
But why can't we have you could have your Michael Bay Transformers, but give us real Transformers.
Well, I'm just surprised that all these film franchises that don't make it past 3. It seems like 3 is usually the limit. Spider-Man 3, the Dark Knight movie, the Christopher Nolan Batman movies. It's like it always goes to 3 and then they reboot it again. Why can't they do that with Transformers? Like, I've had enough of the Bayformers thing, but that's a whole other topic.
Yeah.
So I'm not seeing the Transformers movie. I've had enough of that.
You don't want to see The Last Night. Too bad it probably won't be the last Transformers movie. I believe that's the title of it, The Last Night. It's like when we saw Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade. I was like, oh, that's probably the last one. And then it was for a really long time.
But that was the last crusade for the Holy Grail. That was like the
I know, but like it was the last indie movie for 20.
It was a trilogy for a while.
Right,
yeah. But I like when things come back after a long time. I think it's cool to get the Blade Runner trailer. I was like, holy shit, we're getting Blade Runner 2 with Harrison Ford.
That was crazy.
That's a whole other story.
But now we're talking about the trailer. See, we were more interested in the trailers.
There's a War for the Planet of the Apes. There's a lot of them. There were no Dwayne Johnson, The Rock movies, though.
When we were walking in, we saw a couple posters.
Oh, yeah. He's got the Baywatch movie.
He's in every third movie that exists.
He's in every third movie that exists?
Yeah.
That's about right, yeah. Anyway.
1 in 3 movies stars Dwayne The Rock Johnson. It's pretty much, right? 1 in 4, maybe 1 in 4.
The laws of science. 1 in every 3 movies.
Yeah, and he's I don't know, whatever. That's a whole nother video.
Okay, so just final thoughts about Alien Covenant, man.
You summed it up.
Covenant.
You summed it up perfectly earlier. You said that this was, it's like the third best, I guess.
Yeah, I think so, but I do think it's debatable with Prometheus. Did you like Prometheus?
Well,
I did.
Not particularly. I understand that Prometheus was trying to do its own thing. I like I said, I like Alien for Alien. I want to see the xenomorph, and I want to see but here, this is actually a good discussion, because this movie has the xenomorph, and this movie is very much like more like Aliens, and it's more like those movies, but I didn't really care for this movie.
It's a lot like Prometheus, but with Alien in it.
That's why I said this movie, originally I said this movie's kind of a mess. It's kind of it's kind of all over the place, and I like the original Alien, but the problem is the original Alien and Aliens are so well done, and everything about it, the acting, the story, just everything, it's done perfectly, where this is just not quite right. So,
but when something is so fucking good, it makes the rest really tough to live up.
Yeah, I kind of feel like why not just watch the good one instead of watching this
Good,
one
you
that's
just keep watching them again.
And I hate saying this, but it's like subpar. People like to throw around subpar.
Yeah,
but
I don't think it's subpar.
Yeah.
I feel like this is above par for what Alien is.
I mean, in comparison to the first two movies.
Well, I mean, if those are par, then everything is far, far, far below par.
Well, no, those are great.
Those are above par. That's what Alien and Aliens are way above par.
If those are above par, then this would be below par. Right?
Well, no, this would be okay. Here's par. Here's par right here. Alien and Aliens are like way, way, way above par.
Okay.
And then this one, I think, is just like a bit above par.
I would put it, for me,
You'd put it a little below par?
Below. And then the other ones would be like even lower.
Oh,
like in the depths of hell somewhere, you have like AVP2.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I thought it was pretty good. I mostly liked it. I like the parts with the androids the best.
I think it's funny. James was like, okay, get Alien and Aliens. Then right here, right about in the middle or so is this movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, it's right about here, but it's about the same. You liked it about 5% more than I did.
Yours is a little here. Mine, no. Mine's a little here, and yours is a little here.
Yeah.
That's what it is. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.